power that we generate here from the plant here at Fort Gibson and also the other plants in the Tulsa District are delivered through the Southwestern Power Administration through fixed contracts that they have with preferred customers. And that all goes back to the Rural Electrification Act that was passed back in the 30s that identified those nonprofit entities as preferred customers for federal power.
Not until 1936 that electric cooperatives came to be through the REA. Prior to that, people who lived in rural areas of Oklahoma or anywhere in the country were not going to get electric service because the investor-owned utilities couldn't make a profit, and they were not going to go serve those areas. So it was not until 1936 that the electric cooperative program began. And so at that point in time, co-ops all across the country were formed. The federal government provided the business model and the capital to get these electric cooperatives started. So through a period of 10 to 15 years, a lot of infrastructure was built in rural America to finally bring electricity to rural consumers who were probably 30 years after the urban areas had electricity. So it was quite a long delay in getting those services. In the late 30s and the early 40s is when there were a lot of flood control acts passed, which built these flood control dams that the Corps manages. And while we were building infrastructure out in these rural areas, we didn't have a lot of sources of power at that time. So the decision was made when these dams were built to put these hydro units in place. Those hydro units and the power they generated was dedicated to rural electric cooperatives who needed a source of power, and also public power entities, municipal systems. And so that's where the relationship and the connection with federal hydropower and the electric cooperatives began. And it's been that way ever since. And that hydropower is a very important piece of our portfolio. It's low cost. The consumers, the rural electric and the public power consumers of that hydropower do pay for that power. They pay all the costs associated with generating, with maintaining those units. But it's an important piece of our portfolio because it's affordable. Rural electric cooperatives serve in all 77 counties of Oklahoma. We have more miles of infrastructure in line than the investor owns, and public power combined will average about 7 meters per mile, where an investor owned would be between 30 and 40 meters per mile, and a municipal 60 plus. So we have a high infrastructure cost and not a lot of members to spread that over. So having a piece of our power supply be affordable hydro is very important in our ability to keep electric rates affordable to rural consumers.
That was good vision by people back then to say we need to do this because they recognized the importance of electrifying the nation for productivity and for security reasons as well. So that was a very beneficial thing that happened way back then, and that comes as a responsibility to us now to make sure that we operate and maintain these plants so that they are reliable and can provide that power to our customers when they need it.